Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here, and welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So, have you ever heard anybody mention that such and such fragrance is good for this age range or that age range? All of that stuff is a little subjective. A lot of it might be based off of what might have been popular when you were younger, what fragrances were popular when you were younger at your certain age range. I don't know where that comes from. I mean, it's all subjective, but I thought I'd have a little fun with that today. So I'm gonna name two fragrances for, what do we have, four different age groups. Sorry about that. Four different age groups. I'm gonna do two fragrances for 20s and below, for 30s, for 40s, and for 50s and up. These are all just my opinions. Don't take them as the gospel, if you will. It's just me having a little bit of fun. So, two fragrances for every age range from 20s up to 50s. Before we get started, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you do like the content, and remember to hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get it started. So this is for 20s and below, and I did kind of consider price point here because normally when you're in your 20s or below, you don't have a whole lot of money to spend on fragrances, so I did consider that. First up, from Musashi, we've got Hawas. Musashi's Hawas. I can already tell you right off the bat, this is one of the most youthful and playful fragrances I have in my collection. It's very fruity, very fresh, got a little bit of a spiciness to it, kind of a ambery, woodsy, dry down, very musky as well. And the fragrance is definitely a type of fragrance that is meant to draw attention to yourself. Fragrances for a younger guy are meant to be a little bit more playful, a little bit more youthful, a little bit more sweet, more attention grabbing, a little bit more loud. And this fragrance definitely exudes that. And also the fragrance is not very expensive on discounters, so a younger guy can probably afford a fragrance like this, and it's a 100 ml bottle, so you get a nice amount for your money. So once again, for the 20s age group, this is Musashi Hawas. Next up, second one for the 20s age group, we've got Zaharov Chrome Extreme. Zaharov Chrome Extreme. This is the only Zaharov fragrance, only Zaharov Chrome fragrance I have, but I do think a lot of them can fit for this category, especially for people in their 20s. So this shares a strong similarity to Acqua di Gio's Profondo, but it's a lot cheaper, so that helps you out if you're a little younger and you don't have as much money. It is quite sweet, has that aquatic kind of fresh out of the shower smell to it, a little bit of an aromatic touch to it, but it is a playful and youthful fragrance, maybe a little bit more grown up than the Hawas is, but definitely is a great option for a guy in their 20s in my opinion. And the other good thing about this one is you can pretty much use it for any scenario. So I do think this and many of the Chrome fragrances are great for guys in their 20s. And as far as I know, it's the original Chrome came out, I can't remember when it came out, but I know it's more recent than some of the other fragrances I have in my mind as kind of that base point for what your age range is and what you might be into with your fragrances. So once again, from Zaharov, this is Chrome Extreme. That's the last fragrance for the 20s age group. All right, next up, we're moving on to the 30s age group. This is my age group from the house of Ormond. This is Mont Intensivo. Ormond Mont Intensivo. Now I'll admit, this age group is a little bit tough for me because I know I have my taste, but I think depending on where you fall in terms of being in the 30s, whether you're late 30s or early 30s, that might dictate what you actually like, but I don't think it really matters with this fragrance. This is just a great, fresh, relaxing, cooling tobacco scent that just really, to me, just kind of speaks to becoming a man, which I think most guys tend to do when they start turning 30 and older. In my mind, it's really the beginning of coming into your own. But anyway, yeah, this fragrance has some spiciness to it. Like I said, it has some cooling notes. It has some tea in it. It's more of a tea fragrance in the beginning, then it dries down into a leafy tobacco fragrance. This fragrance is absolutely stunning in my opinion. Perfect signature scent and extremely versatile year-round tobacco fragrance. Great option for a guy in their 30s in my opinion. Once again, Ormond Mont Intensivo for the 30s age group. All right, second fragrance for the 30s age group from the house of Zaharov. We've got Second Soul, the fingerprint magnet. Zaharov's Second Soul. So this one here, I think this is a good one for a man in their 30s, because if you are like me and a fragrance like Curve for Men, the original, was your signature scent when you were just starting to wear fragrances, I think you'll really like this one. This is a barbershop style scent, but also has a lot of deeper, resinous, even boozy and sweeter notes in it, and it's kind of a modernized take on that classic barbershop style fragrance that you would find kind of in the early 90s. There's a lot going on with this fragrance. There's tobacco accords, like I said, there's boozy accords, there's woody accords, amber accords, resinous accords. There's a lot of myrrh in this. I'm a big fan of myrrh, and I just think this fragrance is great for a guy in their 30s if they are a fan of those kind of 90s style barbershop fragrances, which I certainly am. So I'm gonna suggest it for guys in my age range. Once again, from the house of Zaharov, this is Second Soul. All right, guys, we're moving on to the 40s age range. From the house of Amouage, we have got Portrayal Man. Amouage Portrayal Man. Now, I'm not an expert on what a guy in their 40s might wear, but let's just say I wear this now, and if I were in my 40s, I would still wear it. This one really reminds me of fragrances like Dior Fahrenheit, which I think a guy, particularly maybe in his later 40s, would be a fan of. I know my dad wore that fragrance. This one shares that violet leaf, has a little bit of that petrol vibe, but it's more of a leathery take on that violet leaf that was so prominent in the Fahrenheit fragrance. This one also has a lot of juniper, has some vetiver, and a pretty big dose of cade oil in here, so it kind of has this soily, oily, deep, leathery nature to it. Might throw some people off, but it is a very masculine fragrance. When it dries down, some of that kind of heavy leatheriness that it has tames down a little bit. It gets a little bit sweeter and a little bit more less challenging, I guess I would say. It's not challenging to me, but I know it wouldn't be everybody's steam, but the fragrance is very nice, very masculine, and I think it's definitely one that speaks to a guy who is pretty much a little bit more confident about himself, has a little bit more going on for himself, a little bit more established, which you tend to see for a lot of guys in their 40s. So, a good one for the 40s in my opinion, Amouage Portrayal Man. Alright, so the second fragrance I have for the 40s age range is from the house of Cartier. We got Pasha de Cartier Parfum. Pasha de Cartier Parfum. So this one here, very classy scent, as you typically would find from a lot of fragrances from the house of Cartier. This one is quite balsamic. It's a little bit resinous, has a nice sweetness to it, coming from some pretty nice amber accords, and there's also some booziness to this fragrance. It's definitely a very mature fragrance, but not so mature that it wouldn't be like too old for a guy in their 40s, in my opinion. Matter of fact, I know a lot of younger guys are really fans of this as well. This fragrance is outstanding, but I do think it lends to that age range in terms of if you had to put an age to it. I think this is a great fragrance for a guy in his 40s, and I know if I was in my 40s, I would definitely rock something like this. So, once again from the house of Cartier, this is Pasha de Cartier Parfum. Alright guys, we are on to the age range for the 50s and above. So coming from the house of Guerlain, this is Vetiver. Guerlain Vetiver. This is a beautiful, classic fragrance. I freaking love it. Very sharp, clean, citrusy vetiver fragrance. My wife likes to call it clean shirt. I am kind of cheating on this one because it came out so long ago. That's why I think a guy that's in his 50s or older would probably wear something like this, because it's pretty much the style of fragrance that came out when they were younger. And the fact that the fragrance is still sticking around to today, I think, is a testament to how good of a style of fragrance it is. Obviously, a lot of us younger guys that like vetiver scents or just like classic men's fragrances are going to be interested in stuff like this. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who are in that age range, 50s and older, who still rock stuff like this. So that's why I put this in this list. For the 50s, this is Guerlain Vetiver. All right, and the final fragrance for the 50s and up age range, we've got Francesca Bianchi's Lost in Heaven. Francesca Bianchi's Lost in Heaven. I have talked about how this fragrance, I think, is an ode to the classic masculine men's fragrance style. I don't know if this was marketed as a unisex fragrance. I'm not sure. I know most of them that come out these days are, but to me, this smells like a classic masculine fragrance with some sweeter, kind of almost date night or night out type notes in it. The fragrance is quite spicy, and like I said, has a lot of almost resinous-like sweetness to it, but it also has a lot of animalic accords in it. A lot of cumin in here. There's notes like beeswax. There's castoreum. Those fragrance notes can be very strong, very heady, and can be kind of animalic depending on how they're used. This fragrance definitely has that, and I know that tends to be something you might find in a more classic masculine fragrance. This fragrance kind of makes me think of Koros a little bit. So yeah, I think a guy that's a little bit older would really find this fragrance to be something that he's a little bit more used to or is more familiar with, where a younger guy would probably smell this and be like, what is that? Get that away from me. Me personally, I think the fragrance is outstanding, but that's neither here nor there. I still think it's a great fragrance for guys 50 and older. So once again, from the house of Francesca Bianchi, this is Lost in Heaven. Alright guys, that is the list for today. That was 8 fragrances that I think can fit into a particular age range ranging from the 20s to the 50s. I just thought I'd have a little bit of fun today. Let me know down in the comments below, whatever age range you fall in, do you agree with the choices I had, or are you even familiar with them? And if not, feel free to let me know. Like I said, this is just my opinion, it's just entertainment. Do not take it at face value. I appreciate you guys watching all the way until the end. Remember to be well and smell well. And I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.